So when we're voice training, we oftentimes are afraid of lifting the pitch up. It feels a little uncertain. Maybe we're not quite sure if it sounds good or passable, so we don't do it at all. And instead, we kind of create some shortcuts in our voice to make it something that's in the middle, and it doesn't really work, but it's close enough, it'll work out. So what if I told you that you don't need to lift your pitch? You can just add a little more airflow in. In fact, by bringing in a very quiet and breathy voice, you are effectively, pay very close attention, removing the thicker chest resonance from your voice. It's also giving you ability to bring that pitch up to a higher speaking position down the road, and thus avoiding something that is that super bright nasally position. So when we feel this uncertainty, right, when we're just starting voice training and we don't know if we want to actually attempt a feminine voice, we don't want to take a shortcut by making it brighter. In fact, we want to create the shortcut by making it softer. A softer voice sets you up for success, especially in the long run. And in the short run, it allows you to present yourself in a much more feminine way without all of the baggage and technical jargon that goes along with voice training. Speaking of, when you are reducing the volume and adding airflow, you are actually changing the thickness of your vocal cords and thus mimicking that of a more cis woman's voice in that position. So that thinness is what you're actually changing, and that thinness allows a certain amount of agility into your voice, which then allows you to move and change the vocal cords around in a more free and expressive way. But if you're having trouble getting that breathiness, well, where does that breathiness come from? It comes from the diaphragm. You actually need to put more support onto your lungs. You need more pressure exerted onto the vocal cords to shrink them. You need to be pushing that airflow out. It's not necessarily about how fast the rate of air is going, but rather how much pressure is on the vocal cords, and we can do that by instigating the diaphragm. So imagine like you are speaking and someone like punches you in the gut or something, right? And you're like, hey, how are you? It's that sort of feeling that you're after. And it's a feat of athleticism. It's not easy to do this right away. So practice it a few times. It's a little bit of coordination. It's a little bit of timing. You'll get it down, but keep working on that. Like, how do you get it breathy? And if you notice, that first one that I did was I missed my coordination and timing just a little bit. So to recap, if you're feeling a little afraid of lifting the pitch up, bring in a certain amount of breathiness and reduce the volume in your voice. It'll create a shortcut for you that'll set you up for success. It'll be really easy to reduce the volume, but getting the airflow comes from the diaphragm. Push that diaphragm in while you are speaking. And then finally, if you're not quite getting it, consider the coordination and timing of your voice, because